please give a very warm welcome to the one and only Jim Lampley, everyone. Wow, there he is, the voice of HBO Boxing, here, of course, for the big weekend. Jim Lampley in the house. Hello, sir.
Ariel.
Thank you so much. Please have a seat. It really does mean a lot.
How are you?
I am doing great. This is very exciting. It is such a huge honor for me, for you to be here. I really do appreciate it.
Our privilege. It was a 4-minute ride in a sedan, so here we are.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
And you are here, of course, because you are working as of late for ppv.com. You'll be on the chat, the live chat tomorrow for the pay-per-view telecast of Edgar Berlanga Jr. versus Canelo Alvarez. And this has been a thing that you've been doing for the last few months, getting you out of North Carolina, back to Sin City, back a part of the fight game. How has it been? I remember speaking to you right before this started. How has it been being back?
Great experience. I moved back to North Carolina, to the town where I went to college a few years ago, for the purpose of taking up a long-held ambition to teach a course to seniors and graduate students at the University of North Carolina. The course was called Evolution of Storytelling in American Electronic News Media, and one of the things that I preached constantly to my students about was to be aware, going forward in their lives, that constant evolution in electronic forms, in business forms, in various other categories that apply to the communicative process would always lead to differences in the way that stories are told. So here it is. I'm now an example of that, because ppv.com is a new way of telling the boxing story. I sit at ringside, as do 3 other members of the team, Lance Pugmire, Chris Algieri, Dan Canobio from the CompuBox family. We all type constantly into an ongoing live chat stream our observations about the sport. The people who bought the television pay-per-view can click on a box that puts them into the chat process also. So it's an entirely communal, ongoing, streamed commentary on the fight, in which both professionals and fans are participating together.
And so when you're at the arena, when you're inside, when you're feeling the energy, when you're seeing the action, is there any part of you, as much as you love being a part of the ppv.com family, who says, give me the headset,
well,
I want to call the fight?
It doesn't matter whether I think that. At the end of the day, I did anticipate when I left HBO at the end of its arc in 2018, 2019, that probably some other blow-by-blow opportunity would arise. Didn't happen, okay? So instead of doing what I had done for all those years, blow-by-blow, I now have a new way of communicating. And oh, by the way, there are certain sort of backhanded advantages in it. I don't have to put on makeup. I don't have to worry how I look anymore. I don't have to worry what I wear. I'm just sitting there and typing into a computer and sharing with a lot of great fight fans who care about the sport just as much as we do.
I love it. No subscription required. The stream is always great. I've enjoyed it very much. And it's just great to see you back in the mix on fight week at the big fights. And this is a big fight. I'm curious. I remember way back when, one time, I think it was on an HBO broadcast, you spoke about the emergence of this thing called MMA and the UFC in particular. That clip gets shared a lot. At this juncture, would you say you're surprised at how popular it's gotten? Did you not see this coming?
Yeah, I would have to say that if we go back to the beginning of that arc and check my attitude at that time, yes, I would have to be honest and say I am surprised at the degree to which it's gotten over and the level of fan enthusiasm and affiliation which has taken place for MMA. All power to the people who dreamed up that particular variation on human combat. It makes sense to, alter the form and show different ways of fighting against each other, and anything that creates more opportunities for people to both see and appreciate and participate in face-to-face combat sports, I'm all for it. Boxing has enriched my life in an enormous way, so I'm grateful to everybody and all the fans in the room, by the way.
And just curious, are you, historically, Mexican Independence Day weekend, Cinco de Mayo weekend, those are boxing weekends, right? Canelo Alvarez, last few years, he has owned those weekends. Are you surprised that the UFC had the chutzpah, if you will, to say we're going to go on the same weekend in the same town down the block?
It is chutzpah, and anybody who has observed anything about MMA and says, "Oh, I'm surprised by the chutzpah," isn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay, chutzpah is what MMA is all about.
That's
to
true.
a certain degree. So
that is true.
It doesn't surprise me one bit, and I think there's absolutely room at the table for both meals to be consumed.
I agree. I couldn't agree more, and that's everything that we believe in here at Uncrowned and Yahoo. And so let us talk about Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga Jr. I am surprised no one is giving Edgar a chance. Las Vegas is not giving Edgar a chance. I saw that on one of the lines, Canelo's like a minus 2,000 favorite. Are you surprised that it's... I don't disagree or dispute the fact that Canelo should be the favorite. He's the unified super middleweight champion. But to be that big of a favorite, does that surprise you?
Back when it was happening, in the middle of the 16 first-round knockout streak that Berlanga had, I remember saying to somebody in a bar one night, this is not going to lead to the long-term enhancement of his public reputation. This is going to lead to suspicion, distrust, and a perception on the part of the consumer that he's in some way manufactured. It doesn't feel real enough, 16 consecutive first-round knockouts. Well, at the end of the day, he reached the end of that particular arc and moved to a slightly different competitive level, and you got to see that, oh yeah, there are shortcomings here. There's such a thing as matchmaking. Back in the early days of Mike Tyson, a genius matchmaker named Jimmy Jacobs chose all of Tyson's opponents, and eventually there were 16, 17 consecutive spectacular cartoon-style knockouts. And at that time, the medium of communication was television, largely carried by local television. Local television newscasts had a sports segment. Every sports director in the country had to fill 4.5 minutes every night, regardless of whether there was 4.5 minutes of sports news in his market. Jimmy Jacobs put together a genius videotape of all of these cartoon-style knockouts, Mike knocking people for cartwheels in the ring, et cetera, and sent it to every local news sportscaster in the country. So long before Mike appeared on ABC Sports, February 19, 1986, against Jesse Ferguson, a lot of people all across America had already seen him and saw him as this otherworldly killer puncher, because they never saw anything else that went on other than Mike knocking that person out. Now, eventually, over time, people got to see Mike live in the real world. But the launching pad of the first-round knockout highlight reel that Jacobs sent around created this expectation that you're going to see a mythical figure who blows away everybody that you put in front of him. Matchmaking is a big part of boxing.
Okay, and so do you give Edgar a chance?
You always have to give a puncher like that a chance. You can never rule out the possibility that he's going to land the shot that will change Canelo Alvarez's career. But you know boxing. If there's one quality that you can have as a fighter that might give you an idea that you have a chance against Canelo, but which actually ultimately sort of disqualifies you because it's the one thing Canelo does best, isn't it punching power?
Yes.
Straight ahead, unsubtle, undisguised punching power. Doesn't Canelo take a punch as well as or better than anybody else in boxing? I think that's what we're looking at here, is Berlanga has only one way to win the fight, and that's the last way that you beat Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, that is a very fair point. There are some people who are starting to say that Canelo, I don't subscribe to this notion. I'm wondering where you kind of fit in this discussion, that by him not fighting David Benavidez, he is affecting his legacy. I feel like he has done enough to where he can pick and choose whomever he wants to fight at this point. Jaime Munguia is no scrub, neither is Edgar Berlanga, but it's not Benavidez, and everyone wants Benavidez. Do you feel like he is tarnishing whatever legacy discussion could be had here at the tail end of his career by not taking this fight?
I'll say two things to that,
okay,
and you'll see as two different answers. Number one, I don't think Canelo's legacy can be deeply tarnished. He's proven himself to be an all-time great already at this point in his career. I want to see him fight David Benavidez. I'm like every other fan in that regard. Benavidez has earned the ticket to that fight. So at some point, before Canelo retires, I expect to see him fight David Benavidez. And I don't think Canelo is anywhere near the doorstep to retirement. So I have confidence that at some point, the fight will take place.
Okay, I like that, because I think there's a lot of people who have lost hope. Don't think it's going to happen.
Don't you think that the value of that fight continues to rise? Is the public going to pay any less for Canelo Benavidez if they have to wait 6, 8, 10 months as opposed to doing it tomorrow? No, the price is going to go up.
Sure.
So they're both going to make more money if they wait just a tiny little bit longer.
About 2 months ago, there was a lot of Terrence Crawford-Canelo talk, but I feel like it's cooled off a little bit after how Crawford fought against Madrimov at 154. Do you have any interest in that fight?
My instinct is I'm eager to see Terrence Crawford get the chance against Canelo Alvarez, but 21 pounds is a large gap.
Yeah.
All right? So he's now covered 7 of the 21 pounds. He got to 154, and he didn't look all that overwhelmingly impressive against Israel Madrimov. So I don't think the public gives him enough credit for fighting a high-quality, skilled Eastern European fighter with a deep training background, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact of the matter is that Crawford's reputation was diminished by the performance against Madrimov. If I'm Canelo, I'm saying, okay, let's see what happens now. Does he go up incrementally eventually to 168? When he gets to 168, does he look like a credible opponent? I'll deal with that when that happens. And until that happens, he's too small.
By the way, I apologize, I called him Madrimov. I saw a video of you backstage, and I'm a stickler for this sort of thing. I loved how you wanted to make sure that you were pronouncing his name correctly, the pride of Uzbekistan. Madrimov.
I asked him.
I love that. That's
there's only one way to get it for sure from the horse's mouth. I said, is it Madrimov? He said, yes, Madrimov.
Is there a name that always kind of tripped you up over the years for whatever reason?
A name that tripped me up over the years?
A name that just, for whatever reason?
I'm sure there were. But, I have selective memory like anybody else.
That's
what
right.
I mostly remember is going to the Olympics, dealing with athletes from all over the world, sitting with the researchers and saying, okay, pronounce this name for me.
Yeah.
Pronounce this name for me. And inculcating in such a way that I did manage to get them right on the air almost all the time.
We're seeing an incredible moment in boxing right now with these stacked cards, courtesy of Saudi Arabia and Turkey Al-Sheikh. Beterbiev Bivol is coming up on October 12th in Los Angeles. We have the card with Madrimov and Crawford. Next weekend, we have Anthony Joshua against Daniel Dubois. I mean, what a time for boxing. How do you feel about Saudi Arabia now getting so involved in the sport?
Well, they've already done some, good and noteworthy things, and if nothing else were ever to come out of it other than Beterbiev versus Bivol, thank you so much.
Yes,
that's a great contribution. That's a great fight that we needed to see, and I'm thrilled that it is taking place. It'll be interesting to see how far they're able to get with this. You can already see some of the bloom coming off of the rose as Canelo in particular says, you don't run my life.
Yeah.
I make my own decisions. I'm autonomous. I'm not going to bend to your will just because you have more money than people think even I can count. I got plenty. So the limitation of their model is already apparent. But at the end of the day, they're going to make some more fights, and some of them will be very good ones.
I want to do something really fun here, if you don't mind. I grew up listening to you on HBO Boxing. I grew up watching some of the greats. And I grew up watching you call some of the greats. I actually was an intern at HBO Sports in 2003. I don't know if I ever told you this. I was an intern in 2003, and on my first day on the job, I kid you not, they said, all right, kid, let's go. Bring some stuff. We're going to do a shoot with the great Roy Jones. This is 2003. Roy Jones Jr. is going to do a photo shoot. We need you there. We need an extra pair of hands. I was not really that important, obviously, for the operation, but I loved Roy Jones, one of my favorite fighters of all time, and at the time, he was the pound-for-pound best. I've heard you call his fights. I've heard you call fights with him. He's backstage. I would love to have him up here and have a little HBO Sports reunion.
He's my brother.
With Mr. Pound for Pound. Mr. Y'all must have forgot. Roy Jones Jr., everyone, is in the house. This is unbelievable. Oh, look at this hug. Isn't this great? Roy Jones, this is amazing right here. Roy, thank you so much, my man. Thank you so much. Much love.
Ariel, put
Yes.
him in the middle.
Please, please, Roy,
Roy, take
if
the
you don't
middle.
mind. When's the last time you two saw each other? That was a great hug right there.
We
The
haven't
last
seen each
time
other
we
in a while.
saw each other was December 8, 2018 in Carson, California.
Yep.
And we've spoken to each other many times since then. We've had contact. We have tried to make a plan to get together. Things have gotten in the way. But you have done me and him, I hope, a huge service. in putting
Wow,
us with
I
each
didn't
other.
even know that.
An awesome service. So good to see Jim. This is the best commentating partner one person could ever have. He called boxing unlike any other person I've ever witnessed in my entire life.
Amen.
Roy fought like nobody else ever fought.
That is
So,
true. And you guys
there
were
you have
magic together on the air. What made him so great? What made him such a great teammate and broadcaster?
The fact that he knows how to get out of us what the people want to hear. I'm not a person that can always understand what the general public wants to know. He can. And he knows how to bring it to me in a way that I would give them exactly what they're looking for from a boxing standpoint.
Wow. That's a nice compliment right
Thank
there.
you, brother.
It's the
Thank you
fact.
very much.
And
Yeah.
when you had a fighter come on the broadcast as an analyst, did you try to help them? You know, now it's not about you, right?
I only did things that he would ask me to do or indicate to me that he might want for me to do. When you're dealing with a genius, okay, and I'm talking about not just a genius as a fighter, but a genius as a human being. When you're dealing with a genius, you don't try to get in the way too much, all right? So Roy was a natural in every way. We knew he would be a spectacularly good expert commentator, and he was. And when he would ask me a question, sometimes I was always very flattered by that and very motivated to offer the best advice I could possibly offer.
Roy, you are here. It's a big fight weekend, but you're also working with the brand new boxing video game that is coming out on October 8th. It's 11th, excuse me. It's called Undisputed. I've been seeing these guys work on this for the past year or so. I saw them in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to see them next week in London. The graphics are insane. They've got every legend under the sun, current legends as well. It's been a while since we had a great video game in the world of boxing hit the shelves. What makes this so special, and what is your involvement with the game?
I'm highly involved in the game. The game is out of this world. The graphics are unbelievable. The boxing, the way that you can actually put punches together, you can slip punches, you can block punches, you can do so many different things that you could not do in the other games that it makes this game the perfect game, and I think it's going to go over the top.
Really? I've seen the graphics too, incredible stuff. And have you played with yourself, as yourself?
Yes, I have.
Yes. What's it like? Did they?
It's fun, but it's just different. You know, you got to get used to it. And what I liked, I was using Usyk today.
Oh.
And I was learning how to use the jab and learning how to throw the overhand left, but I also learned how to throw the right hook, and the right hook became dangerous. So I told the guy I was going to knock him out with the right hook, and that's what happened.
Set those traps. Usyk, by the way, incredible. I want to ask you guys about him in a moment. October 11th, it comes out on all the platforms, right?
Yes,
PlayStation, Xbox.
And you can pre-order it now, and you'll get the 1993 version of Roy Jones Jr.
Wow.
If you pre-order.
Wow. Is that y'all must have forgot? That's not quite. That's a little
That's
before y'all must have
before
forgot.
y'all must have forgot.
Yeah, one of the great lines.
15 Christmas presents in my family, all right?
There it is.
15 royalties for you, Roy.
Thank you, my brother.
I love it.
That's why they call them royalties.
That's right. Alexander Usyk is fighting on December 21st against Tyson Fury. You are Mr. Pound for Pound. Could I ask right now, as we sit here today, who is number one pound for pound in the world? I think it's a 3-horse race.
It's Terrence Crawford,
Yeah.
Alexander Usyk, and Inoue.
Yes. But everyone has a difference of opinion as far as who is 1, 2, and 3. I'd love to hear your opinion on this, and then I'll ask you, Jim.
Number one, Crawford been around longer than everybody, and he still hasn't been beaten. The big fights eluded him for a long time, but when he got it, he did exactly what he was supposed to do and some. Number two, Usyk, because he came up from cruiserweight all the way to heavyweight, but he dominated the cruiserweight division, became undisputed champion. He went up to heavyweight, and he's been dominating the heavyweight division. So you got to give him number two. Number three, Inoue, and the only reason I say he's number three is because there's a lack of competition in that weight class. And most of the guys in that weight class really aren't necessarily considered real top caliber fighters. So his talent pool is going to be less than Usyk's or Terrence Crawford's. So Terrence number 1 because of longevity, Usyk number 2 because of that knowledge and because of what weight class he's dominating, and Inoue number 3.
Your thoughts, Jim?
Well, I think that that's a strong and convincing case. I tend to
We have
agree.
a vote for Tyson Fury over there.
I tend to agree with what he says about those 3 in the pound-for-pound rankings. But, and by the way, Terrence Crawford has a pound-for-pound resume because he succeeded to the max at 130, 135, 140, 147, 154. He's on the way, et cetera, et cetera. That's what you do to campaign for pound. And yes, Usyk, obviously, and Inoue, obviously, also great fighters. But at the end of the day, there's pound for pound, and there's dollar for dollar. Would you rather be number 1 pound for pound, or would you rather be number 1 dollar for dollar?
Sure.
The number 1 dollar for dollar fighter is fighting here in Las Vegas tomorrow night.
Canelo Alvarez.
Yes.
The great Canelo Alvarez, who Terrence Crawford would like to fight, in large part because there's a big payday attached to fighting him. Would you, if he asked you, Roy, you went all the way up to heavyweight. You beat John Ruiz, right?
Yep.
Would this be smart for me? Going from 47 to 54 to potentially 168, or maybe they meet in the middle. Would you say that that is a smart move for his career? Or would there be some after effects that would affect his longevity?
Like Jim just said, and this is why he always been my favorite teammate. Mm-hmm. It ain't always about pound for pound. Sometimes it's about dollar for dollar. But if you can win pound for pound and get dollar for dollar,
yeah,
which he would do if he did that, how can we say no?
Right. Do you like his chances in that fight?
I love his chances.
Really? Why? Tell me.
Because what people fail to understand is that one of my favorite fighters, and the people always give me this excuse, but one of my favorite fighters was Salvador Sanchez. Mm-hmm. He died at 22. He beat Patrick Ford, Danny Lared Lopez, Wilfredo Gomez, Azuma Nelson. All these guys, we're talking about are top-notch guys. Most could be Hall of Famers, right? He beat all these guys and died at 22. So how old was he when he was beating them? 21 and 20. But they always say, oh, he was too young when he fought Floyd. It's a bit different because this man dominated boxing at 19, 20, 21 years old. So I don't kind of give all that credit to him for that, but he has gotten better because now he knows how to use his pressure. So with that being said, be a tough fight for both of them.
Yeah, I would love to see it as well. There's so many great fights. I was really looking forward to seeing Shakur Stevenson back on October 12th against Joe Cordina. Unfortunately, he broke his hand. He's kind of a hot topic right now in the world of boxing. He is, dare I say, a polarizing topic. How do you feel about Shakur at this stage of his career, Jim? Because there are some people who are saying he's maybe not pushing it enough. He's not exciting enough. He's not doing enough to promote himself.
Well, you got to be who you are, okay? I mean, Roy knows better than anybody. You can't go into the ring and try to portray some personality other than your own. When Shakur Stevenson appears to be a little too passive, a little bit too defensively oriented, a little bit too reliant on his technical skills, he's being himself. He's fighting the way he knows how to fight, and it's going to be very difficult to change all that. You're not going to turn him into a dynamic, lethal power puncher. That's just not in the package. So I think you have to appreciate what you see on the basis of what it is and recognize that every fighter has a different path to try to get to the top.
Man, this is so much fun. I'm loving talking to you guys. Berlanga, Canelo, are you going tomorrow night?
No, I'm not going.
You're going home?
Yeah.
You can't be bothered.
Well,
you've been to enough fights.
They got a historic fight, MMA fight going on in the Sphere, and I want to see that.
Oh, you're going to that?
Yeah.
Wow, a sign of the times, Jim. Roy Jones chooses the Sphere.
Yes, sir.
The UFC, a sign of the times, right? Would you not say?
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you excited about this? This is going to be insane.
I'm highly excited about it. Highly excited. I love doing things like that. I love attending things like that. You got to remember, we were the first one to take boxing into Radio City Music Hall in New York City.
Yes.
So I love first. That's when you really breaking ground. You're setting a path. You're not following a trail. You're burning a trail.
Are you sensing now boxing is starting to learn from the UFC with what Saudi Arabia is trying to do with these stack cards, giving people more than just a one-fight or two-fight card?
They better learn from the UFC. But the other good thing is, why aren't me and this guy commentating?
You tell me.
Because they want to pay people cheap labor that don't know what they're talking about to go out there and do it because you can get them for cheap because they love to be on TV. We're not doing it for TV. We did it for the fans.
That's right.
If you had told me.
I love it. I love it.
If you had told me on December 9, 2018, the day after HBO Boxing ended, that by this point in 2024, neither Roy Jones nor Max Kellerman would ever have worked at another live boxing telecast, I would have told you you're out of your mind, okay?
Insane.
Somebody's going to snap them up right away because of their audience appeal. So I don't know what happened. Me, I'm old news. But Roy Jones and Max Kellerman, they're both still in their primes. They're both still brilliant. And their absence from the airwaves, I do not understand at all.
A travesty.
And I wouldn't do it without him.
Yes. Where is Max these days? Have you guys
Max around, and Max is another guy. He was our third team member. He's another guy who's phenomenal at what he does. These guys make you feel comfortable. This was a real dream team. And how this real dream team is not bringing the fans what they want anymore, I don't understand. And that's why boxing is nosediving. Nobody speaks it on air like we spoke it.
I think we were a dream team, and the dream was that the three of us got to work together. We ate breakfast together. We went to the meetings together. We went to dinner together. We watched things in the room together because our friendship was even more bonded than our partnership calling the fights.
Yeah, you guys have worked with a lot of people, but if you're not friends, right, behind the scenes, that comes across on camera, right? You can't fake that. You can't fabricate that.
And none of us fake and fabricate anyway. We just tell it like it is. But for them to be, and even the Saudis, if he really wanted to get in and do boxing a real justice, he's still here. I'm still here. Mac's still there. What's the problem? What team of commentators was better than the HBO team?
Oh, it was incredible. Second to none. I think it's unbelievable that HBO hasn't got, like, it's right there. It's right there for the taking for them. But for whatever reason, some executives.
I can't believe that some
Showtime
star
as well.
executives at AT&T thought it was a good idea for HBO to drop boxing after they bought it. What's that all about?
Yeah.
It was tremendously integral to the growth of the franchise.
Showtime and HBO. Who would have ever imagined both entities out of the boxing business?
Well, the fact that we competed with each other
Right.
helped to create a further level of intrigue for the audience to bond with.
And like people say, iron sharpens iron.
Right.
We were the best, but it was always coming at us. And that was great because it made them still in their game and it made us still in our game.
Yes.
So it's beautiful. Competition is beautiful. Anybody that don't believe in competition, something wrong with you. Competition makes for great things. You know, without McDonald's, we wouldn't have Burger King.
That's right.
You know?
Can I ask you about next week? Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois. Do you give Daniel Dubois a chance against AJ?
I give him a puncher's chance, but I think Joshua has a lot more to prove right now. Joshua has places he needs to go because I know he going to want the winner of Fury and Usyk.
Right.
So he has to come out and take care of business in the right way or nobody will want to see that fight.
Do you give Dubois a chance, Jim, against Anthony Joshua?
I'm totally with Roy on this. Heavyweights that size, both of them can punch. Everybody's got a chance. You only got to land one shot to change the fight. So yeah, absolutely, Dubois has a chance. Totally agree with Roy that Joshua has more on his plate, and Joshua has a deeper background, and Joshua has more collective experience within which to say to himself, "I'm better. I can win this fight."
What a great story, right? The resurgence of AJ. People were counting him out when he lost to Usyk for the second time, saying he was done, mocking him, and the way he's built himself up. And I know he hasn't fought the best of the best per se, but, you know, a nice win over Otto Wallin, the knockout of Francis Ngannou. Him and Ben Davison together, I think, have been fantastic, and I would love to see him fight for the belt one more
Styles
time.
make fights.
Yes.
Nobody has solved Usyk's style so far. Somewhere along the way, something's going to happen.
Yes. What about Sean O'Malley as a striker? You like him?
I like Sean O'Malley, yes.
Who's the best striker in MMA right now?
Right now, he may be.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a striker.
Alex Pereira, have you seen him?
But I can't. I love to see Sean O'Malley strike because he strikes like a full-fledged fighter, boxer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you would have told me that I'd be on a set for my own show with Roy Jones Jr. and Jim Lampley, I honestly would have died and gone to heaven. I remember first day on the job, 2003 HBO, we went to do a shoot, and they're like, you're gonna go help out on a Roy Jones shoot. And I was like, what, are you kidding me? And I'm from Montreal, and there was a great fighter named Otis Grant.
Yep.
You remember Otis Grant?
Yep.
Otis and Howard Grant, the Grant brothers. And it was a big deal when he fought you. And I was like, yeah, one of our own, Otis Grant, is fighting the legend. And what did that last? I think it was like 2 rounds or something?
No, I think he went about 6.
Maybe
6.
It felt like it was a lot shorter than that. He wasn't really into
Might
it.
have been 5.
But yeah. But you were unbelievable. You were a superstar, and such an honor to have both of you here with me.
Thank you.
Good luck with the video game. October 11th it comes out. It's called Undisputed. Trust me, if you're a fan of the old school EA video games, Fight Night and all that, this one's better in my opinion. It's absolutely better. They have crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's. It's an unbelievable thing. And Jim, good luck tomorrow. ppv.com, the live stream of Canelo versus Berlanga Jr.
Thank you, Ariel. And thank you for giving me the chance to see my brother.
I will never forget that hug right there.
Same here. Thank you for getting a chance to see my brother.
Man,
That's the man right there.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Roy Jones Jr.
Thank you.
Mr. Y'all must have forgot himself. And Mr. Jim Lampley, thank you so much, Jim. Honestly, a real honor. Wow, these guys, thank you. Living legends, royalty in our midst.